Welcome back, guys, to Let's Build the Ultimate Theme Park. In the last episode, we finally finished building this gigantic sci-fi complex, and I am really proud of it. I think it's really beautiful, especially this room and this queue right here, the anti-gravity room. One of my favorites. I think it looks really neat. And then I am going to make some slight changes, like I still need to make that pit an infinitely deep pit, or as deep as I can possibly make it. And I need to change some of the videos on the billboards. But for now, we're going to continue working on some of the things outside of the medieval section and the giant sci-fi complex. Now, the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to finish the rail circuit for the monorail. I'm going to have it be one continuous circuit. That way, guests can travel across the whole entire park without having to walk everywhere. Now, we have 3 stations. We have one at the beginning of the medieval section, that's on the castle wall. We have one inside the giant sci-fi complex. And then this very last one is in this back corner of the park. Now, I did some terraforming on this lake off camera just because I used to have Dragon Roost Island in this lake, but I decided to get rid of it because it was a little bit too large and it kind of felt out of place for this park. But I still thought it was really cool. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. I had a gigantic island based off of Legend of Zelda Wind Waker in this lake, but I decided to get rid of it because I felt like it didn't fully fit in the park. But it kind of made me inspired. I kind of want to make a Legend of Zelda Wind Waker themed park where I just kind of remake some of the islands. I think that would be really cool. But I don't want to start that until I finish this park because I hate having multiple things going on at one time. I already have so many things going on that I try to finish things before I start new things because I like to finish things. I'm a very adamant person about finishing things, and I feel like one of the things you have to do in life to become successful is to finish the things you start, even if the finished product isn't exactly what you were hoping for. So that's what I try to do 90% of the time with things I create, is I try to finish them. And sometimes it might take a while, but as long as you get it finished in the long run, I think that's all that matters. So my main goal for today is to kind of give a rough outline to what we're going to do for the rest of the park, and to continue expanding in a new direction for once, because we haven't really expanded in a long time. So the first thing I did is I connected up the circuit, so we now have a full loop with the park path in this park. That was like a tongue twister. And now I'm going to build a gigantic Ferris wheel. So this is one of those types of Ferris wheels that they have in Disneyland California Adventure, where the carts aren't just in one single spot, they swing back and forth. There's some stationary cars, but there's also cars that swing back and forth depending on what angle the spokes of the wheel are going. It's really, really fun. It makes your Ferris wheel experience way better. And then the next thing I'm building is go-karts. I think go-karts are a great addition to have in this park, because especially in Planet Coaster, they're super fun because you can drive them yourself. You can literally enter first-person mode and race other guests in your park in the go-karts. One of my favorite additions they've added to this game, actually, because I've always dreamed about racing in my go-karts in all of the original Roller Coaster Tycoon games, and now you can actually do it. Now, as far as the theming for this go-kart ride, I'm not going to do any theming today. I'll do a little bit of terrain work, but I'm going to really test out the studio expansion pack on this one. So I'm going to make sort of like an old downtown styled studio set from Hollywood, a little bit like Universal Studios. We'll have action scenes, cars blowing up, some like more high-rise buildings. It'll be really cool. I'm going to go all out, but like I do for almost every single ride in this park. But I really just wanted to test out the studio set, and I've just seen there's a lot of animatronics and a lot of cool things we can do, so we'll see where it goes, but that is for a later episode. So the next thing I'm doing is I'm kind of just trying to terraform and blend both sides of the park together. Whenever I go to a theme park, I think the most beautiful theme parks are the ones that have a lot of elevation variety, a lot of hills, slopes, cliffs, things along those lines. If a theme park is completely flat, I don't think it's as cool. I think it's cool when roller coasters and stuff are fit to different landforms and land variety. When a theme park is too flat, it kind of reminds me of a giant fair in a way. Just a bunch of rides just placed around randomly. But whenever the theme park is shaped to different landforms, maybe my expectations are high because Missouri is a very hilly state. Not very many flat areas around here, at least not in the areas where I live. So the few theme parks around me have just a lot of hills and stuff, and you have to go up and down hills a lot, and it just makes the theme park a lot cooler in my opinion. I went ahead and widened these holes for this coaster to go through, because right now they were still just the old automatic holes that were created when I built the coaster. I didn't want to make them seem like they were going through a small straw or something. And now, what I plan to do for the scenery around this Ferris wheel, transitioning to the next area, is there's hardly any forest area to this park at all. So I decided I'm gonna have this just have some large oak trees, just really make it really pretty, sort of like a park, an area for people to just relax and such. Because almost every single other area is full of tons of buildings and clutter and everything. I thought it'd be nice to have a kind of small central area, kind of like in New York, they have Central Park. This is gonna be the Central Park of our theme park, because we're probably gonna have a lot of scenery around the go-karts and towards the very back of the park as well. So we might as well have one nice little serene area of the park with lots of bushes and trees, flowers, little ponds, things along those lines. And I'm currently struggling between deciding whether I should continue just adding more to the park's base infrastructure when it comes to rides and such, and then go through and add the extra scenery and details later, or if I should just keep on working hardcore on the scenery so I don't have too much to go and add scenery to later. Because sometimes I feel like if the end of the series is just scenery, then there's no cool rides to look forward to. And I'm trying to find a good balance between working on scenery and adding rides. It doesn't really help that adding scenery takes 10 times longer than building the initial ride. But, I mean, really good rides are a majority scenery. But even just kind of doing some of this more natural stuff with the rocks and the trees, sometimes it can look just as good as building really in-depth scenery, as long as you don't overdo it. But just trying to do good landscaping is always just really fun. Just trying to space things out nice and make it seem a little bit realistic. Not adding too much to where it seems too cluttered, but still having enough to where it seems like they cared about the nature they were working on. Went ahead and added lots of benches and trash cans, light poles. I'll probably end up going and adding even more in the future, but I'm just trying to add, like I said, the bare necessities right now, just so we can get a good idea of what it'll look like. I'll probably have an episode where I go back and just add tons of just small little touches to make this park better and better throughout it. And also, I'm really wondering if Frontier is going to announce any new Planet Coaster DLC at E3 this year. I'm wondering if it's been long enough for them to start teasing an expansion for water parks or something. I think eventually that's going to come. Planet Coaster has been getting really good sales. I think they've sold almost 1.5 million copies, which isn't too bad. That doesn't even include DLC. That's a pretty stable budget, I feel, for a game like this. And if they just keep on adding more to this game will become more and more popular, because it's it takes time for news to spread, and then it also takes time for people to get computers good enough to play games like this. Sometimes people will save up just to be able to buy computers to play these types of games. But yeah, I think I would like to see Frontier announce at least some sort of DLC, but if it was something big like water parks finally, that would be awesome. But there's still a lot of different scenery I would like to see them add. Even though this game has a lot of scenery, it still has room for a lot more. There's so many more things that we could do if they added certain scenery packs. I still think it'd be really cool if they added a Jurassic World scenery pack, because Frontier is making that Jurassic World simulator, and it would be so easy for them to just take some of the 3D assets they made for that game and make a scenery pack, and it'd be good cross promotion. I don't see any reason for them not to. I'm also working a little bit on the medieval section. I wanted to extend the wall a little bit just so I could start to picture what the scenery would look like. I kind of like how the path goes onto that courtyard-like section. I might try to have that extend a little bit further because it looks cooler having people walk on that than just regular paths. I think next episode I might just completely dedicate it to working a little bit more on this village, because I haven't worked on it in a long time and I would like to see a little bit more progression. But having the wall almost done, now all they got to do is just kind of finish the butts of them, make some opening gates, and then in some areas I'm going to have towers. So I built a gigantic chair swing over here, and this is a chair swing that takes you hundreds of feet in the air. I have ridden one before and they are terrifying because you're hanging up so high, suspended only by these chains holding up your seat. Like if a couple of them broke, you would just fly away and it would just be the worst experience ever. I don't know, but they're still really cool. I thought it would be cool to have tons of spotlights pointing towards it, so as it went up in the air, people could really see it up there. I put a tank there because I'm gonna make it seem a little bit like they're guarding the entrance to this gigantic building a little bit. I'll also put some guards and stuff around to make it really seem like it's a little bit more of a high security thing coming in, because it seems like they have really high security in space stations and stuff like that, just so aliens don't come and just ruin your shit. But I think this area ended up being really pretty. I like all the trees. I think it's a really good transition area. Looks really nice outside of the gigantic sci-fi complex with the coaster going above the path and underground. A couple rides, the Ferris wheel overlooking the lake. It's really starting to shape up, and I'm liking the direction it's heading. But anyways, I'm gonna call this an episode here. It was nice getting a lot of the framework for the next sections of the park done, and I'm excited to see where it goes. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!